Monday, June 12th. Got a lot to say and not a lot of time to actually say it in. So let's get to the proceedings this evening. You are locked into the 342nd installment of the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 342nd installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Whew. Hope your weekend was fan-effing-tastic. Mine absolutely was. Got some R&R, spent some great time with the kids, watched some good quality boxing, little basketball, little baseball, little some of everything. It was just a well-rounded weekend. Really good weather. We got rid of the smoke that I was talking about last week. That subsided. So all good on my end. Hope you can say the same. NBA Finals Game 5 tonight. Quickly, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because this series is kind of going how I thought it would. The Heat threw a monkey wrench in there in Game 2. They had to win a game, right? I told you I thought it would be a gentleman's sweep before the series started, and or after Game 1. I think I said that. It might have been before the series started, or definitely after Game 1, one of the two. And it's kind of going to script. I thought that the Nuggets would hold serve at home, however, and that the Heat would get their one win at home. That didn't prove to be the case. They stole one in Denver and made it look like they were going to put up a fight, then went home and promptly got dealt with in both of those games. And it looks inevitable that Game 5 is going to be it for this series. Now, every time we count out the Miami Heat, they show up, they show out, and they surprise us. They could get Tyler Hero back tonight, but honestly, what is that actually going to mean for them if he does play? Like, how many minutes can he possibly play? What could you really expect from a guy who hasn't played in, pretty much a month and a half? I can't imagine he'd have a massive impact. What did he play? Game 1 of the Milwaukee series and got injured. So I can't imagine that even if he plays, he's going to have a massive impact. The Nuggets look unstoppable at this point. They've been the best team in the playoffs all playoffs long, and they're showing it here. They're flexing their muscles. They've been outstanding. Joker and Murray and company and the supporting cast. How about Bruce Brown in Game 4? Are you kidding me? This is what the playoffs is all about. This is what I've been telling you. You get unsung heroes, guys that step up. They've had it all postseason long. They're dominating, and I think they're going to finish off the Heat tonight. We'll see. If it goes 6, so be it. But I love Michael Malone. I'll just say this, and then we'll get out here. We'll transition to football. Michael Malone is, to me, one of the best coaches in basketball. And I think he's the best motivator in basketball. So I think Spo, who he's going up against mano a mano, is the best coach in the league. I think Michael Malone is the best motivator. And he does a great job of talking to his team, but also talking to them through the media. And after Game 2, he's one of the most blunt coaches in the business. He'll tell it to anybody like it is. He had some things to say about the Lakers after, they were taking it to the Lakers and about to sweep them, how, all the coverage is on the Lakers. And he used that as a motivating tool for his team. And after Game 2, when they lost, he said that effort wasn't good enough, and if we play with that effort, we're going to lose. And I love his style of coaching. And, he seems to be getting through to his players, and they're going to win the NBA championship, whether it's tonight or it's Thursday. They're going to win the NBA championship here. And congratulations to the Denver Nuggets in advance. That said, let's get to some football. A lot of things happened over the last 5 or 6 days. It's been a while since we've wrapped, a taste. What was it? Last Wednesday, Thursday? Tuesday, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while. So a lot has transpired since the last time we spoke. So I've got a lot to say naturally. And so let's go ahead and dive in to the gym dropping session. What it says you think that's okay? Let's get it done then. Let me drop this gym on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T-E-E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. I want to talk about the running back position. And we talked about this, I think, last week. It could have been the week prior. It all starts to, run together once you get to the dog days of summer. We're getting very, very close. So the running back position is being devalued again. We go through these little spells with the running back position. Here we go again. Now, I was so happy to see what transpired in the draft with 2 running backs going in the top 12 picks. That was awesome. But let's not fool ourselves. The veteran running back market right now is showing you what teams think about running backs in particular. And Dalvin Cook is the latest case. Now, I specifically told you guys the last time we spoke that there was no way that the Vikings were going to fetch anything in return for Dalvin Cook. It just wasn't going to happen. There is no way someone is going to eat the $10 or $11 million that he was owed by the Minnesota Vikings. And there was no way that someone was looking to take on that type of a contract for a 27-year-old running back. Now, we say 27 like it's some type of death sentence. That's the thing that's a little bothersome for me. Same thing we did with Austin Eckler. Like, we're looking at these dudes like, oh my God. But that's the nature of the position. It's no country for old men, as I said. But Dalvin Cook is still a very productive back in the NFL. He's only 27 years old. He's probably got 3 or 4 really good years of football left in him. But the Vikings decided that they wanted cheap labor. They got a guy in Alexander Madison on their roster. But the thing is, if you're still going to have to pay Dalvin Cook the money, what's the point of cutting him loose? I really don't understand that. It's the same thing I said about the Arizona Cardinals. Like, what is it that we're actually trying to accomplish here again by cutting a guy that you're still going to have to pay money to anyway? I'm really not following why we're doing this. But again, if a player doesn't want to be there, then that's one thing. And I can't speak to the Dalvin Cook situation. I can't say that he didn't want to be in Minnesota, but there are a lot of posts of him, wanting to go back home. He's a Florida boy, and I think he wants to play in Miami with the Dolphins, but he's already made it abundantly known that I'm not looking to take a pay cut. No reduction in price here. There is no cheap price tag or no clearance sticker on this item here because I'm still getting bread from the Vikings. I still want a lucrative deal. And that's smart on his part. I wouldn't relent if I were him either, unless there was a specific place that I wanted to play. They were interested and they set the bar at where they were willing to go with me. And if I deem that to be the money to be less important than just the locale where I want to be, then that's what I would do if I were Dalvin Cook. But this is the last time he's going to see real money. He knows that. He's no dummy. He's 27, right? And this is the last real contract that he will probably see in his NFL career where he's got a chance to make big money. I don't blame him. I'm not giving anybody the benefit of a 1-year deal. I'll get 1 year older. Next year, I'm 28. Oh my God, he's almost 30, right? No, I want my 3-year deal right now. I want all my upfront money. I want my guarantees. I want a nice fat, salary, a base salary. I want all of that if I'm Dalvin Cook. I get it, but that's going to scare some teams away. It truly is going to scare some teams away. Some teams that might have been interested, like a Denver or a Miami, for instance, which is where he wants to go. They may be like, nah, we're good. I don't really think we're looking to pay you, $11, $12 million a year. I'm not looking for a 3-year, $36 million deal. I'm good. I'm gonna pass on that. There may be a team out there as you get closer to camp that's willing to do that. But again, we'll see what happens and how that market takes shape, because you still got Ezekiel Elliott out there. I think Joe Mixon could easily end up out there. We'll see if Cincinnati does. If they were going to do something, they probably would have done it already. But you see that market is still kind of in flux, if you will. So we're going to see what ultimately happens with Dalvin Cook. You still have some backs like Josh Jacobs, who hasn't signed his franchise tag, or you got Saquon Barkley, who hasn't signed his either. And I'm going to read you a quote from Saquon Barkley here in a second. But, I've been hearing some crazy stuff. Could the Raiders rescind the franchise tag on Josh Jacobs and go after Dalvin Cook? That's dumb to me. That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense, right? Jacobs probably younger. I would guess he's probably like 25 years old if I had to guess. Let's see how old Josh Jacobs is. He's 25, yeah, and he doesn't turn 26 until February. So he's a spring chicken. And again, Dalvin Cook's only 2 years older than him. Let me see when Dalvin Cook's birthday is, because he could be about to turn 28. And that changes things slightly, but yeah, he's going to turn 28 in August. So he's 3 years older than Josh Jacobs. That's significant. That's a whole nother contract. So there's no way the Raiders are going to rescind the franchise tag from Josh Jacobs to chase after Dalvin Cook. That doesn't make one bit of sense. But, you're hearing all kinds of craziness now. I find this situation with the Giants very interesting because I kind of saw this coming when they got the deal done with Daniel Jones and they franchise tagged Saquon Barkley. Who didn't see this kind of standoff coming between the two parties? Because if I'm the Giants, I probably just want one more year of service out of Saquon. Like, I just want him to play under the tag this year, and then I'll let him go, and I'll draft a back next year. And I think they really, truly do value Saquon Barkley. But if what he's saying is true, and, you got to be careful when you get into these negotiations, who you listen to, because the player has an agenda, the team has an agenda, the agent has an agenda. So you have to be careful. You have to, be very mindful of the information that you take in and that you spit out, because, again, a lot of times there's an agenda at hand. But this is from Saquon Barkley, this per Adam Schefter, from the mouth of Saquon Barkley. He says, as I've, and I got this off of, I think he posted this on socials or something, or he could have texted this to Adam Schefter. But anyway, he says, as I have stated, this is Saquon Barkley that I'm speaking of. He says, as I've previously stated, I'm not looking to set any contract records. I am not demanding to be the highest paid player at my position. I understand the market. My goal is just to be compensated respectfully based on my contributions to the team on the field and in the locker room. I've been in talks with the Giants throughout the offseason. If at some point there's a deal that's fair to both sides on the table, I'll be ready to sign. So, I mean, he sounds like he's being very reasonable. It doesn't sound like Saquon Barkley's out here looking for a money grab, looking to be greedy, wants to reset the market or anything of the sort, which is what a lot of times is the hang up with a lot of these deals, is that guy wants to be able to say, at one point, I was the highest paid such and such. He's like, I'm not even looking for that. I understand that I had injury-plagued seasons, that this is, the first time that I've been able to stay healthy and produce at a high level since probably year 2 of my career. I understand all of those things. I'm very aware of my situation. And I even go all the way back to his rookie season. I'm fully aware. That said, I was the catalyst for this offense last year. I carried us along with Daniel Jones. All right. You paid him already. I'm looking to get mine. All right. I'm the most talented player on this roster by far and away. And not only am I a leader on the field, I'm a leader off of it. And so I feel like I need to be compensated. And again, I'm not looking to reset any market. I'm not looking to, crush the Giants from a cap perspective. I just want what I think is fair. And that sounds good. And if that's what actually is being negotiated on his behalf, then the Giants, the ball's in their court to step up and make something happen. I contend that the Giants, and again, deadline spur action. I can't stress that enough. So as we get closer to that July, whatever, 15, 16, 17th deadline, whatever it is this year, as we get closer to that, I assume something will get done. If it doesn't, I'm going to maintain my position that the Giants aren't really interested in a long-term deal with Saquon Barkley. Now, from what I just read you from Saquon Barkley, it sounds like the Giants are working in good faith with Saquon on trying to hammer out a deal. It's not like there hasn't been a dialogue back and forth. Sounds like they're trying to find a number that makes sense for both parties. But that could be the Giants posturing and making him feel like they're trying to negotiate when they're really not. And they get to that July 16th deadline, they don't get the deal done. At some point he could sit out of all of camp if he'd like, and then he could sign his tender, then come back for the start of the regular season. And that's more likely than not what he would do if he does not get that long-term deal. I believe he would sit out of training camp, probably most of, if not the entire preseason, and then be ready for the regular season, and just continue to work out on his own. But whatever the case may be, again, we keep talking about these running backs, man, and the position as a whole and how it's been devalued. We've heard, rumors of Derrick Henry potentially being on the trade block. We saw what happened with DeAndre Swift. Josh Jacobs still waiting on a long-term deal from the Raiders. Again, you see how that position once upon a time was viewed in a very high regard. It's no longer the position that it once was. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, even, that was the star position in the NFL. Offenses were built around running backs. How many guys went number one overall as a running back in the days, right? That will, I don't think we will ever see a running back go number one overall, ever. So anyway, it's going to be interesting to kind of follow all of the dynamics of the running back position with Saquon. Does anything happen with Derrick Henry? I doubt it. He's going into the final year of his deal. Anything happen with Joe Mixon? I think he's going to remain in Cincinnati, but again, we'll see. Anything could happen there. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott is still sitting out there waiting for an opportunity. I don't know if it'll come or not. Dalvin Cook adds his name to the list of guys that are out there as free agent running backs looking for work. And so we'll see what happens, as far as all of these situations go with the running back position. But it's tough out here in these streets, man. It really, truly is, especially for a star running back. It really is. Anyway, I digress. My money's on him ending up in Miami. That's my guess. They don't really have a true bell cow. If they really want to compete in that division, you want to load up with as many talented guys as you can. They already have a star-studded wide receiver group. I thought they did a really good job of adding to the quarterback position. They moved on from Mike Gesicki at the tight end position, but they're going to be just fine. I think running back is the one position on that offense that it leaves a lot to be desired. And look, they're fully capable of getting it done with the guys that they have, Mostert, and I think they got the other 49ers running back, Jeff Wilson Jr., but those guys aren't Dalvin Cook. And in the type of offense that they run, Cook is the perfect fit. That one cut and go offense, he'd be a great fit in Miami. I think it's ultimately what's going to happen, but I think it's all about being patient if you're Dalvin Cook, and I think it's going to be a waiting game. I think nothing happens until you get to July. So anyway, I digress. Let's get to social media maneuvers. I'm a midday marauder. Y'all know what it is. I want to talk about a couple of topics that piqued my interest over the weekend. I'm going to start with Bryce Young. He's now QB1 in Carolina, and that didn't take long now, did it? Again, who's stopping him, right? I don't even know who their backup quarterback is. I think it's a respectable veteran, if I'm not mistaken. But again, what are we talking about here? You drafted Bryce Young, number one overall. You traded up from 9 overall to get to the number one spot to draft him number one. You didn't draft him to sit, right? You drafted him to start. And I told you, I expect Bryce Young to have an immediate impact. I think he's that good. So he's already, won over the coaching staff. They believe in him enough to make him QB1 heading into training camp. Good for them. Good for him. Now I want to see what he does with the opportunity. They're going to be a fun team to watch, I think, are the Panthers. If you're a Panthers fan, you got to be jacked right now. It's probably the way you felt when you got Cam Newton. It probably feels really good to get the number one overall pick in the draft and select a quarterback. That's got to be fun. As a fan, I've never experienced that. The highest I've ever, been as a fan and my team selected a quarterback with Heath Schuler back in 94, I think it was. That was a disaster. I think he went fourth or fifth overall. I think it was fourth, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Yeah, that was a disaster. So my team has never selected a quarterback, as far as I'm concerned, as with me being a fan of the team, any higher than that. So, well, Robert Griffin III, second overall. They traded up to get Robert Griffin III in 2012. That was really exciting, right? We were through the roof with excitement, and boy, did he deliver in that rookie season. So I can only imagine what that feels like, getting the number 1 overall pick and being excited about him. This is the second time they've done it. If you've been a Panthers fan for 20 years, hell, 10 years, 15, let's call it 15. Newton was 2011 draft, right? So this is the 2023 season. So if you've been a Panthers fan for roughly 13 years, you've gotten to see the number 1 overall pick at the quarterback position be selected by your franchise twice. This it's going to be fun. If you're a Panthers fan, it's going to be a fun season. You're really going to enjoy yourself. And there's nothing like growing with a young quarterback, because you get to see the process, right? You get the ups, the downs, the wins, the losses, but you see that guy grow, and you know what you have or what you don't have. You get to see it play out in front of you. If you're the Bengals, you draft Joe Burrow, number 1 overall, and he gets hurt in his rookie season, but you saw flashes in that rookie season before he goes down. He comes back in his second year and he goes to Super Bowl. And you're like, okay, yeah, this is what's up, right? And then the next year he goes to the AFC Championship game. And you're saying to yourself, yeah, this is what we're going to have for the next 12 years, 12 to 15 years. That's what you're looking at if you're the Bengals. We've got a window that's open because of the quarterback. If you're the Panthers, you got to be excited, and you're hoping that it's something similar for you coming down the pipeline, but we'll see. So DeAndre Hopkins is making his rounds. I've heard that the Patriots are interested. That makes a ton of sense, because I don't think they have a true number 1 receiver on their roster right now. But neither do the Tennessee Titans. I think that would be the absolute best fit for him, honestly speaking. If he wanted to win and win right away, he knows the division. He's very familiar with the other teams. It's not the best quarterback situation, obviously. So that would be something that I would take into consideration if I were him. But he doesn't seem to care right now. He's looking to get paid. So I don't think he really is too concerned about who's throwing him the football. He's made that abundantly clear. But if I was Deshaun Watson, or excuse me, if I was DeAndre Hopkins, rather, I'm going to really weigh my AFC options, because I really think New England and the Titans make the most sense for me in terms of, going to a space where I'm the guy. I'm going to get the targets that I'm used to getting, because you go to one of these teams where they got, like, if you go to Buffalo, right, you're not the guy in Buffalo. You're one of the guys, but you're splitting with Diggs at a bare minimum, right? Which I don't know how he feels about that. You go to Kansas City, you're the guy, but they're going to spread the ball around, but you're splitting that with Travis Kelce, right? You're not the guy, but he'd be the receiver, which is probably what he cares about most. You go to Tennessee, and outside of Treylon Burks, I mean, there ain't much there, man. I mean, they might have made some improvements maybe this offseason. I'm not sure if they did. They didn't do anything really via the draft. And so I don't know if they're banking on some of these young guys that they've drafted over the last year or two to step up. But that cupboard's pretty bare, man. If I'm DeAndre Hopkins and I want 140 balls thrown my way, Tennessee is the ticket. Now, who's throwing you those balls? That's going to be the thing that might deter you from going to Tennessee. But he's making a visit with the Titans today. New England makes a ton of sense because, again, they don't have an alpha at receiver, really, or tight end for that matter. And I think Mac Jones is going to have a bounce back year because Bill O'Brien is now his offensive coordinator, and that's going to stabilize that situation. It'll feel like Josh McDaniels being there all over again. It'll stabilize the offense, which was a mess last year. And I think you're going to see Mac Jones return to his rookie status, where people were fawning all over him. Last year, people were ready to jump off of the Mac Jones ship, and they were ready to sink it. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? All of this for Bailey Zappi? Are you kidding me? What are we doing right now? Stop. Cut this shit out. So I think cooler heads have prevailed. And I think we're going to see a retooled offense with Bill O'Brien calling the shots. And I think they're going to look sharp, crisp on offense. And Mac Jones is going to spearhead that offensive attack. It's going to give the Patriots a chance to compete in what I think is the toughest division in football. And you add a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, and it gives you a fighting chance in what is a murderer's row division. And they need offensive firepower. They're the one team in the division that currently is lacking it. They don't have what the Jets have. They don't have what the Dolphins have. They don't have what the Bills have. They need to add a DeAndre Hopkins. So if I'm New England, I'm going to put on the full court press for DeAndre Hopkins and try to see if I can't get something done. But I would say the same for the Tennessee Titans. It just, to me, he should make his home, he being DeAndre Hopkins, in the AFC. That's where all the quarterback talent is. I think that's where it makes the most sense for him. But again, we will see. Did you guys hear Cam Jordan today? This was absolutely hilarious. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to let you guys take a listen to this. I'm going to pull it up for you because I won't do it any justice. And the disrespect that people show Kirk Cousins is hilarious, but this is too funny. All right. So I'm going to play this for you guys. So take a listen to this.
You see a lot, you see a little. If you're so focused on what's next, oh, where's his hand? If it's where does he like to throw these hands? You're so worried about all these other factors, you're slowing yourself down thinking. In this game, you all like everybody knows a fast wrong decision can be a right decision. And a fast right decision, you're a winner. And a slow right decision, get your ass on the bench. Because there's somebody out here that's going to be moving at a different speed. Slow right decisions, we love them. Call him Kirk Cousins. Good move.
We call a slow right decision Kirk Cousins. We love him. If that ain't like the ultimate damn, like I'm dead. Like if that ain't the ultimate skull emoji, I don't know what is. He said, slow right decisions, we love them. We call him Kirk Cousins. The Kirk Cousins disrespect is real, man. I be feeling bad for my guy Kirk sometimes because but he does it to himself. Like Kirk would always call it the process. He probably still calls it the process, making the right decision. That is just absolutely vicious on the part of of Cam Jordan there. Oh man, that would make my day. Anyway, I digress. So with that said, let's get to the comment section, see what you guys have to say, see what you guys got going on. If you're a Washington fan, I put out a couple videos today. I'm going to be putting out another video tomorrow. Got a number of topics that I want to dive into. So stay tuned for that. If you're first of all, I want to thank everybody who has supported over on MusicHead University. I am so pleased with the growth of that channel thus far. You guys have been outstanding. I got a new upload coming at 6:30 today. I set it for 6:30. I didn't want it to overlap with this stream. So that'll be out soon as this stream pretty much is over. It's going to be a great show today. And so you guys tune in every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, new uploads. So I just want you guys to continue to support because the support has been overwhelming and it's been awesome to this point. And I'm really pleased with the progress of the channel. And I can't thank you guys enough for that. So if you're a music fan like myself and you enjoy the Louie T Network, I mashed the two together and your end result is MusicHead University. So with that said, see what you guys have to say. Let's start with Carl Burton. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Carl some love welcome him with open arms to the best squad out there, the Mob Squad. Carl, welcome to the squad. You won't be sorry, and we're glad to have you. I look forward to chopping it up with you in the future. So, real quick before I get to the rest of the comments, let me just make sure I put this out there. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome, first and foremost. If you are a veteran, then you know how this works, but I'll explain anyway. If you want your comment to be read on the air, if it is pertinent and time permits, use the hashtag LouieTeeLive to have your comment discussed. Now, with that said, super chats are the way to ensure that your comment gets read. No matter where we are from a time perspective, you super chat, your comment gets read, and you jump straight to the front of the line. So with that said, I do have a super chat, so I'm going to get to that one first. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Pink writes, I heard Curtis has an injury, or is it weak? Never, ever trust a man with two first names. You know what it is. I don't have to tell you. Never, ever trust a man with two first names. Yeah, he tweaked his ankle, I believe. Ron, I try to stay out of this. I don't like to play the injury game with any player, especially Curtis Samuel. We've been down that road before with him, done that. Ron talked about it, and I just left it alone because I don't even want to go there. But he talked about it last, I want to say Thursday. It was Curtis had just tweaked something. They kept him out. He said it's not serious, but that's what he always says. He said the same shit last year, 2 years ago, rather. He said the same shit about Trey Turner, and that was a lingering issue for him. This is his move, right? Oh, it's not serious. Nothing that we should be concerned about. And then we get to training camp and his ass ain't out there, and now we should be concerned, right? I'm just gonna leave it where it is and hope that by the time we get to camp, 4 is out there and he's balling like he was last year. But I told you, I don't get concerned about injuries until we get deep into training camp, into the preseason, and that guy still, like I told y'all last year with Cole Turner, I'm not really concerned until we start playing preseason games where he should be out there and he's not out there. Now I'm concerned, and that's what it turned out to be, and it lingered, and ultimately it really cost him his rookie season, is what it did. So I'm not concerned right now, and I won't be until we get to camp and he's still not ready to practice, and then we start getting into the second week of training camp and he's still limited, or he's on the other field. That's when I'll start to be like, all right, here we go again with that shit. But right now it's June. Nothing's going on. We got a full month before training camp, comes. I think we're good. We're just going to leave that alone. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, who you got tonight? Nugs close it out or what? I got the Nuggets closing it out tonight. I felt like 5. And when the series started, 5 was the magic number. And that hasn't changed for me. I still think they're going to close it out in 5. Now, after the Heat won game 2, I was like, maybe this will go 6. But I said 6 means you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself if you're Denver to win on the road multiple times. Why do that? They said because we can. And they went over there and won twice. So now they've afforded themselves. When you win a championship, there's nothing better than winning it on your home floor. So they want to finish this thing out in 5 and celebrate in front of their fans. You don't want to have to get on another flight back to Miami. None of that shit. You don't want to have to pop champagne in the opposing team's locker room. Now, you'll do it. When it comes to winning a championship, you don't give a shit where you do it. But if you have a preference, it'd be at home. So they got the opportunity. They went on the road, and they afforded themselves this opportunity. They earned the right to win this thing at the crib in front of their faithful. Now they're going to go out and do it. And I see them closing this series out tonight. Andrew Carmen, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Andrew writes, never trust a man with 2 first names was my senior quote because of you. By the way, Lil Wayne's the undisputed GOAT. If you're referring to MusicHead University, I specifically asked for storytellers. I haven't asked for the best lyricist ever yet, but I know who yours is now. But that's funny. That's funny. You know, and it's always cool to look back into the yearbook and see some of the quotes from people. That's a good one. I like that. I like it a lot. Glad I could be of assistance there. That was pretty dope. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Starface writes, is the Joker a top 10 all-time center? I mean, what he's doing right now, we've never seen. Like, it's hard. I'm always amazed when we talk about having never seen something. This is the first time something has ever happened. With as much basketball as we've seen played, as many NBA finals as we've seen, to hear the phrase never happened. There's never been a 30, 20, 10 triple-double in the playoff, in the NBA finals. There's never been, I think he's got like 10 or 11 triple-doubles, some ridiculous number, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's somewhere in that vicinity. Triple-doubles this postseason. We've never seen that many in one postseason from a player before. And you're thinking about guys like Magic Johnson, who's to put up triple-doubles all the time. And he's never done it this many times in a postseason. To hear some of the ridiculous numbers that this guy's posting and the sheer dominance at which he's doing it, I feel like it's early, and to put him in that conversation might be disrespectful to some of the centers of the past. But I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find 10 other guys doing it at any point of their career at the level that he's doing it at right now. And so I guess for me, it just would take more just longevity. But I'll say this, he's turning in an all-time playoff run. I think it's one of the greatest runs we've ever seen in a postseason before. I'll say that. But, just off the top of your head, you got Robinson. First of all, Wilt and Russell, right? Then you got Shaq. You got Hakeem Olajuwon. You got David Robinson. Like, I don't want to disrespect. That's 5 dudes right there, I think. Maybe 5 or 6. I don't know how many I just named. Patrick Ewing. I know he never won a championship. I don't know if I said Hakeem already. I probably did because he's one of my favorite centers of all time. But again, like that number could get up to 10 very quickly. And who are you taking out of the top 10 to insert Joker into that mix? At some point, it's going to happen if he keeps doing this. And he's just getting started, by the way. Like, there could be a run here of the Nuggets winning 2 out of the next 4 championships or 3 out of the next 5 championships. There could be a run if they can stay healthy, keep good pieces like they have around them, Gordon and KCP and Bruce Brown and guys like that. They can keep these, pieces around them. Michael Porter Jr., who has really been a non-factor in these finals. Who knows? There could be a real run for the Nuggets. And Joker will be the centerpiece of it, along with Jamal Murray. So he probably is a top 10 center already. If you put a gun to my head, I'd have to sit down and hatch out a list. I hate when people put me on the spot because it's so easy to become a prisoner of the moment. I don't like doing that because I don't like leaving people out. And there's been, over 75 years of quality basketball played. Is he already top 10 in just his 7th season or whatever it is? I don't know. That might be too premature. But then again, it may not be. I mean, we haven't seen this level of dominance. We've never seen, you know what I think of? Because so many people used to say this, and I've watched old highlights of him. A lot of people said this is what Arvydas Sabonis would have done had he come over to the U.S. in his prime and not stayed in his country for so long, had he come over here sooner, and because Arvydas was like a dominant passing big. I was a Portland Trailblazers fan when Scotty was there, and he overlapped with Arvydas when they had a chance to win the championship, when he would go toe-to-toe with Shaq. You could see the touch. That's what Joker has. But he didn't have the movement. He wasn't as athletic. The shooting was still there, but he wasn't as, prolific as he probably was when he was younger. We're seeing that. And Joker's not like the greatest athlete either. Like, that's the crazy part, is watching him move around. He's not the fleetest of foot, but boy, he knows how to use his body. He's got a soft touch. He always makes the right basketball play. He's so skilled. He's unorthodox. There's so many things you put in that pot. It's hard to say that he's not top 10. It's hard to say that he's not top 10 already. But I just would like to see it for 2 or 3 more years, and then there's no doubt, right? I just want to leave no doubt. You're going to put a guy in the top 10, leave no doubt. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Pink writes, he looked so tired and defeated after game 4 walking to the locker room. I feel this is a done deal and the Nugs going to celebrate. Said, celebrate. Celebrate! Y'all know what it is. I think you're right. I mean, look, they worked so hard at the Heat to get to this point, and they need to be given credit. Nobody ever remembers second place. You're just the first loser. But, man, I tell you, what a run it was. Keep in mind, this is an 8 seed we're talking about. 8 seeds don't make it to the NBA Finals. You may upset the 1 seed, but somebody's going to pop you eventually. When's the last 8 seed we've seen make it to the NBA Finals? You got to probably go back to the 99 Knicks. Did they make it to the NBA Finals or just the Eastern Conference Finals? Not sure. But 8 seeds don't make it this far. And they didn't just make it. They were dominant. They should have swept the Celtics, let them off the hook, and made that a 7-game series. They were up 3-0 against them. They beat the number 1 seeded Milwaukee Bucks 4-1. They cleaned up the New York Knicks. Like, they were dominant this postseason. And they just ran out of gas. And I'm shocked that they even made it this far. Like, again, credit goes to Eric Spoelstra. And I don't want to take anything away from that roster, even though I don't think it's the most talented roster. Those guys played their asses off, but they ran into a freight train. This thing's over. I'm with you. Kyle, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Kyle writes, would you trade 2 1s for Kyle Shanahan if you needed a head coach? I don't know if any coach is worth 2 first-round picks. Maybe 1. Yeah, I'd trade 1 for Kyle Shanahan. I'm not giving up 2 for a coach, though, because you're not guaranteed anything with a coach. With a player, you could be guaranteed 15 years of great play in 3 Super Bowls. With a coach, he could have a falling out with, the locker room. They could quit on him. They could be awful, and that coach could get fired. Now, again, a great example of why I wouldn't give 2 first-round picks for a coach is John Gruden. Raiders were hell-bent on making John Gruden the center of their franchise. He was a coach-centric hire that was supposed to turn their organization around the second time. And they gave him this 10-year deal, all of this money. And how long did it last? 3 years maybe before, that stuff came out and he had to resign. Like, imagine if they had given up first-round picks for him. Like, they would be beside themselves right now. Anything could happen. So I'd much rather spend that on a player, to go up and get a quarterback or whatever the case may be, than a coach. Because I've truly, coaches are important. But one coach isn't going to win you a Super Bowl. A player could be the difference. Tom Brady is a great example. Quarterback is the most important position in football. Bill Belichick probably won't win another Super Bowl. Tom Brady won another Super Bowl, right? Bill Belichick probably won't. Not unless he finds a quarterback that can give him what Brady gave him for all those years. And that's the difference for me. Yeah, coaches are excellent. You need great coaches in order to win, but players are the ones that are ultimately going to get it done for you. I'll trade 2 first-round picks for a quarterback. I won't trade 2 first-round picks for a head coach. And furthermore, Kyle Shanahan hasn't won the Super Bowl yet. In case you didn't know, he hasn't won the Super Bowl yet. So why am I trading 2 first-round picks for a coach who hasn't won a chip yet? He's been multiple times, but he hasn't won anything, right? So until he wins something, I don't even think he's worth one, honestly speaking. And I love Kyle. You guys know how I feel about Kyle Shanahan. He's a hell of a coach. I'm not giving up 2 first-round picks for him. Sorry, not sorry. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Starface writes, I feel so bad for Jimmy 2 times now, so close. This is the nature of the beast. I don't feel bad for Jimmy. Jimmy's played his ass off. I'd much rather see a guy like Jimmy Butler win a chip than a guy like, you guys know I can't stand Chris Paul. And looks like he's going to be released from the Suns. That's what it appears to be. And I think he's going to end up, I hope he makes a beeline for LA with the Lakers. Yeah, go stink it up over there with your buddy, LeBron. That would be magical. I would love it. Because wherever he goes, you're definitely not winning the chip. I'd love to see Jimmy Butler win something. But it's going to be hard for him to get it done on that Heat roster. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. It's going to be tough. And it's crazy that I keep saying that this is the second time they've been to the NBA Finals, even though I don't truly count the bubble. There's an asterisk there for me. They still made it, right? It's a solid NBA roster that he plays on. I don't think it's good enough to beat any team in the West. I just don't. So I think that's ultimately where he's going to continue to run into this brick wall. And it's unfortunate because I still am baffled at how he keeps making it out of the East, but he does. But I don't think that Heat team is good enough to beat any team, any contending team out West. So, Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Pink writes, there's a lot of Chase Young trade rumors going around. Do you think anything other than a first-round pick should be entertained? I prefer to keep him. I'm going to talk about that this week. So I don't want to say too much here. I'll just say this, because this is going to be the overarching theme. And I won't say anything else regarding this topic until I decide to talk about it, which will be in the coming days. If you're Ron Rivera, if you're Martin Mayhew, if you're Marty Herney, does it make a ton of sense for you to trade Chase Young in a year that you got to have it? You got to be good this year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you're not good enough, you're fired. Does it make sense for you to trade away a commodity like Chase Young and get future assets for him that you may not be able to utilize, you may not be here to see tangibly? Or does it make sense to hold on to this commodity, even if it's only for one more year, use him for whatever he has to offer, 7 sacks, 9 sacks, 11, 13, whatever the case may be, 5, and see if he can't help you win 10, 11, 12 ball games this year? Which one makes more sense for a group that needs it? I'll just leave it at that. But we'll talk more about that situation. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Red Wings 01 writes, honestly, the only centers greater than Joker, in my opinion, are Shaq Robinson, Wilt Kareem, Hakeem Russell, and Moses Malone. That's 7 guys that you've put in front of him. I'd take him over guys like Ewing, Bill Walton, Dwight Howard, George Mikan. So, yeah, he's top 10. If the next group of guys you're getting to is Ewing and Bill Walton, George Mikan, because I don't consider Dwight Howard a top. Like, I laughed at this notion that somehow he was left off of that list of greatest. What was it? Did they do 100 players and he was somehow left off that. No, you don't belong on that list, bro. You had a run. It was cute, but he was really good for that era of basketball. But his game was never like any of the guys you just mentioned. He's skill-wise, he was never close to Shaq, Hakeem, David Robinson, or any of those guys that we consider generational bigs. He was never that. He was more athletic than the competition. He had one little move in the post, which was a little baby hook over the right shoulder. He was not a dominant, like, post player. He was athletically gifted, and he had a run in Orlando, and I'm not taking that away from him. But there's a reason he's not in the league right now. And some of that has to do with his character. Like, he is a locker room cancer at times. He can be a malcontent. You know, there's always been this thing with him. But, and that's probably more so why he's not in the league right now than him not being able to play. But Dwight Howard isn't, to me, one of the best centers of all time. So if that's the next wave, then Joker's already in the top 10. If after Moses Malone, the next three guys, there's got to be more guys you're leaving out. And I'm assuming you're a smart guy. I'm assuming you're looking at a list of greatest centers of all time, and you're probably looking at that list, and that's where it goes. And if that's where it goes, then he's already top 10. You're right. He's already top 10. I just feel like there had to be more guys that I'm not thinking of. You know, but if that's the list, yeah, he's already top 10 for sure. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Reedy Davis writes, Lou, don't give us Lakers another old man. Yeah, I'm trying to put another old man on your roster. You know LeBron loves the oldies. You know LeBron loves the oldie but goodies. He loves putting his boys on a roster with him. You know, I could easily see them swapping out D'Angelo Russell for Chris Paul. Oh, go right ahead, please. Make my day. The MIDI don't even work with him no more. That's the last thing to go when you're an old man is the MIDI. If you ain't got the MIDI, you might as well hang it up. That was his calling card. He wasn't even knocking the MIDI down last year. Yeah, send him to LA. I'll pay for the ticket. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Starface writes, only way we trade Chase is if we drafted Lucas Van Ness. We would have had to have drafted a big time DN, I believe. It would have had to been somebody in the first round or two, probably. And you know, even then, it wouldn't have been a guarantee, but it would have probably been more likely that you would have moved on from someone. If you would have gotten, say, a second or first, yeah, I think that then that conversation becomes real. But they didn't draft anybody in the top rounds. If you really truly believe that, you know, KJ is going to be able to step in next year, then you just let the season play out, let him learn, let him grow, develop, and then next year you have him slide into the role opposite of Montez, if that's what ultimately takes place. Again, we don't know. Both of these guys could have massive seasons, and I told you, there's a scenario in which both of these guys are back at least for one more year. Get a long-term deal done with one of them, slap the franchise tag on the other. That could happen too. So don't rule anything out right now. The likelihood is, though, one of these guys is no longer on the roster next year. But again, we'll talk more about it. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Reedy Davis writes, Lou, we need to work it out to keep all on the D-line. I don't know if that's feasible. I mean, technically speaking, you're not paying a quarterback. So, yes, you could theoretically keep all four of those guys if you'd like. But you're going to run into some issues doing that at some point. It's just not fiscally smart to hold on to all four of them, especially with Sam Howell being on a rookie deal, but already going into his second season and not being a first-round pick. If Sam Howell were a first-round pick and he was going into year two, you could definitely make the case that you could sign all four of these dudes, because by the time you get to where you need to pay Sam, one of these guys would already be up. and then another guy could be in a position where you could move some things around, you could re-sign him, lower that cap number for that first year of Sam's new deal, whatever the case. There's some things you could do, right? By the time Sam's ready. Because Sam's on a non-first round deal and he's in year 2, if Sam balls this year and Sam proves it again next year, you got to pay him. You got to pay him going into year 4 because that's the last year of his rookie contract. You don't want to get to that final year. You don't want to get to the franchise tag. So you're essentially 2 years away from Sam Howell needing to be paid if you're Washington, which is what you hope. You hope Sam Howell turns out to be the guy so you don't have to keep looking. And if you sign Montez and Chase, you put yourself in a rough spot because John's contract would be up by then, but Duran's wouldn't, Montez's wouldn't, and Chase's wouldn't. And they would be in the meaty portions of their contracts where you probably can't get out yet, and there's no way around it. So, again, theoretically speaking, you could do both. You could, because you're not paying a quarterback and you're not paying a left tackle. So theoretically, you have the space if you're Washington, but it's just fiscally not smart. And keep in mind, there are other players that you're going to want to retain, while you're waiting for Sam to continue to grow and show you that he's the guy. You're going to want to keep the Cam Curls of the world and the Benjamin St. Juices maybe, and the Curtis Samuels, maybe. We don't know how many of these guys are going to ultimately earn a new contract here, but you want to keep that option open and available. So, highly unlikely. Red Wings 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? I mean, there are guys like Willis Reed, Wes Unseld, Mutombo, Robert Parrish, David Cowens. Like, what are we doing here? Anyway, Khalik for linebacker too. So yeah, I mean, again, if those are the names, and so some of those are from a different generation, and you talk to some people, and there's no way you're leaving Willis Reed out of the conversation or Wes Unseld, right? They'll tell you Wes Unseld was, one of the biggest, baddest guys in the NBA, and Willis Reed was this and that, and I can't argue with them. I didn't grow up in that era. I didn't watch basketball in the 70s. I wasn't born. So I can't tell you what Willis Reed was, I can tell you what Wilt and Bill Russell were because of what everybody else has told me. And then I've actually gone out of my way to watch those guys to see what the fuss was about. Like I didn't go back and watch Willis Reed. I didn't care enough. So I can't tell you what Wes Unseld was doing. I know Wes Unseld, the head coach, more than I do the player because that's when I grew up. He was the head coach of the Bullets. So again, like you said, what are we doing here? If this is the list, if we're considering guys like Mutombo and Dave Cowens and Bill Russell, then he's already in the top 10. There's no discussion here. You're absolutely spot on. Like, to me, the 7 guys you've put in front of him are absolutely in front of him right now. And there are locks in that top 10. And I think Joker's probably right in the 8 hole where you put him. I don't disagree with you at all. I think Moses Malone is very underrated. Very, very underrated. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Starface writes, if you had to choose Chase or Sweat, who is it? I mean, for my money right now, it's Montez. But again, I'm holding out hope because here's the thing that I love about Chase. I love Chase's energy. I love how infectious it is. Chase, no matter if he's playing or if he's not, he's the loudest guy on the sidelines. He's the most amped and psyched. He's a great locker room guy. Look, we may not love, so I shouldn't say we because I don't give a shit. Some people may not love him not showing up for camp and they get bent out of shape about that stuff. I don't care. I just care about production. And this is a production-based league. He hasn't produced in over 2 years. And so that's what I'm more concerned with. Montez has been steady Eddie, and this seems like the year where Montez breaks out. And I've talked about that already. So this seems like the year where Montez is poised to finally break through, like we saw with Duran, and get to 12 sacks this year. Whereas Chase, there may be another step for him, because he missed all of that time. He could pick right up where he left off as a rookie, though, and be determined and go out there and kill it. And he may be the 12 sack guy this year, not Montez. And maybe Montez's cap is at 9.5, and he'll never truly be that double-digit sack getter we want him to be. I just don't see that. I think it's Montez. I would choose Tez right now, the healthier guy. And Tez is just as good a locker room guy as Chase is, but Chase is the more vocal of the two. He's more of that face of the franchise type of guy, right? So there's pros and cons both ways. I'm rolling with Montez, though. I'm rolling with Tez right now. Anyway, I want to thank everybody who super chatted. Really appreciate you guys. And with that, somebody's VT Soldier 2010. How did we not say Kareem, right? Like, are we tripping? Like, he should have been like one of the first names out of our mouth. So this is why I don't like doing this on the spot, because my brain is all over the place, and I'm relying on, my guy Red Wings, and I don't think he said Kareem. I don't think he said Kareem. I know I didn't say Kareem's name at all. Let's see. I can go back to that comment. So Shaq, Robinson, Wilt. Yeah, he's got Kareem in there. Okay, I apologize. He's got Kareem in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he's got Kareem in there. I was like, I didn't say it. And so I'm guilty as charged. He's got it in there. And I'm about to say, Red Wings is a sharp dude. If he left Kareem out, that's criminal. He's got Kareem in there. We're good. So you had me scared for a second. Anyway, I digress. So let's get to the final segment of the show, Garbage Time. And I apologize for even questioning you, Red Wings. I should have known better. There's no way you left Kareem out. Anyway, so the Browns have a new logo. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but I'm going to pull it up for you guys. See, and let you guys have a look-see at this thing. So I'm somewhat torn by it. It's not terrible, right? I think it's all right. So what you're seeing in front of you here, and what we'll do is we'll just cover up the logo here so I can make it even bigger. So what you're seeing here is the final 2 entries in a contest that the Browns were having, where they wanted submissions for a brand new logo. And they had like 6 or 7 that they had whittled it down to. These were the last 2 mock-ups. And which one of these do you prefer, first and foremost? All of you guys know which one ultimately is the new logo, but which of these 2 would you have chosen? The one on the left or the one on the right? I think the one on the left is pretty dope. I'm not going to lie. The one on the right, it's nice in its own way. I think I like the collar on the one on the right, and the one on the left, I kind of like the head a little bit more, especially the brown stripe at the top. That's more symbolic of the stripe on the Browns helmet. And I kind of like his mug a little bit, but they didn't choose that one. I don't necessarily love his teeth, and I don't love the collar, but I did like some of the other features, especially the stripe down the middle. But ultimately, this is the Browns' new logo right here. This is the one that they selected. So this is going to be their new dog logo. When they decide to go to an alternate look and they go to the dog, this is what he will look like. What says you? Is this dope to you? Is it, it is what it is. It's meh. Or are you feeling this? I don't like the fact that I can't see his eyes at all. I guess that's supposed to make him look even scarier and more intimidating. It just makes him look like he's an eyeless dog. I'm not necessarily feeling that. Like, it would have been really dope if, like, very faintly you could see a little bit of the whites in his eyes. Like, that would have probably made it stand out a little bit more for me. The fact that you can't see any of his eyes, I'm not feeling that. But, and I thought the stripe at the top could have been a little bit thicker like the other one, but I love the collar. I have no problems with the look of the dog. Anyway, I think it's dope. I would have made a couple of alterations to it, but all in all, I think it's dope. But yeah, I would prefer some sort of eyes. Something. Give me something. All right. I ain't looking like a Scooby-Doo ghost with no eyes, right? It's crazy. Anyway, I digress. I like it. I rock with it. I got no issues. So that was garbage time. And that is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the 342nd installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I appreciate y'all chopping it up with the kid. I look forward to rocking with y'all on Wednesday. We'll be back. If not Wednesday, definitely Thursday. Probably you'll have a new NBA champion by then. And we'll see if anything happens with some of the guys we talked about. All the franchise tag guys, nothing's going to happen with them until we get closer to the deadline. So you're not going to hear anything about Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley, but you may hear something with DeAndre Hopkins. You may hear something with Dalvin Cook. You know, you may hear something with Ezekiel Elliott. Again, most of that I think will get pushed closer to camp. I don't think Dalvin signing anything. I think the only guy that's going to sign a contract here shortly is DeAndre Hopkins. I think that Dalvin Cook is going to be more of a camp guy. I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to be more of a camp guy. And so I think you'll see more action as you get closer to camp. Anyway, I digress. So that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Greatly appreciate you guys kicking it with the kid. I got another super chat here on the way out. This one is from Starface. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Starface writes, need to change the name to Dogs. Browns ain't it. I mean, they're the Browns. And that's history. That's what you want. You don't want the name to change. You know, if you want to call them the Dogs, if you're a Browns fan, you call them Dogs, call them Dogs, right? But they're the Browns, man. They're going to be the Browns. They've always been the Browns. You know, there's something about that nostalgia. I mean, I would have preferred them to just change our name to Skins, right? That would have been easy to do, but they didn't do it, right? You would prefer Redskins over everything. They prefer Browns. I get it. I understand that Browns it is trash. we agree with that, but it's been trash for 60 years. You're not changing it now. So it's just one of those things where, look, we got too much history, man. That's where we're at with that. Anyway, I digress. You guys, get out of here. I will catch up with you Wednesday. If you're a Washington fan, there'll be more content coming out tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we'll be live on Thursday. And for the rest of you, I'll see you on Wednesday. And if you haven't already done so, please do me a favor. If you are interested, again, if you're not going to watch, then don't. But if you are a music fan, you love music like I do, please head over to MusicHead University. That is my other YouTube channel. Subscribe, check out the content. I promise you, you will not be sorry, especially if you love R&B like I do. But again, I cover all genres for the most part, not all genres. I shouldn't say that, but it's going to be a heavy dose of R&B. That is for certain. But you'll get infusion of rap, pop, rock, you know, a little bit of house, you know, house, all of that good stuff. You get a little something to appease everybody just about. So anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. I'll see you next time. God bless. Good night. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. LouieTeeNetwork.